Billionaire's CEO watched a little girl cry in court and nearly lost control. He was just there to pick up paperwork. Contracts, signatures, the usual. But he stopped when he saw her. A little girl, no older than 6, sitting alone on a wooden bench outside courtroom 2. Shoes too small, eyes too tired, and when he asked if she was okay, she looked up and whispered, "My parents don't love me." And right then, the millionaire CEO realized this wasn't going to be a normal day. And maybe, for the first time in his life, he wasn't going to walk away. The courthouse smelled like paper, polish, and the kind of coffee that burned your tongue. Owen Miller had walked these halls more times than he could count. For a man like him, a billionaire CEO with a calendar booked 3 months in advance, this place wasn't emotional, it was transactional. Until that morning. She was small, too small to be sitting there alone. Knees hugged tight, denim jacket swallowed around her. Eyes red like she'd stopped crying only because she'd run out of tears. He almost didn't stop. Almost. But something, maybe instinct, maybe God, made his steps falter. He crouched beside her, adjusting the cuff of his suit like he was buying himself time. "Hey, are you okay?" A pause. A blink. Her voice was barely a whisper. "My parents left me. They don't want me. They don't love me." 6 words. That's all it took. 6 words broke something in him that hadn't bent in decades. He stood slowly, turning to scan the hallway. Surely someone was looking for her. A mother, a father, a caseworker? But no one came. Just the ordinary shuffle of courtrooms and custody papers and people too busy to notice a child unraveling quietly at the seams. He called for his assistant, Marie, and asked her to sit with the girl. No hesitation, just, "Don't let her out of your sight." Then he walked, fast, past the records line, past the usual politeness, and straight into the clerk's office. "There's a child sitting alone outside courtroom 2C, he said. She says, "Her parents left her. I need to know what's going on." The woman at the desk blinked, startled. But something in his voice, that billionaire CEO tone, made her act. Within minutes, they confirmed it. Her name was Bella Rivers. Her parents had divorced that morning, and both had signed forms waiving custody. No one fought for her. No one even asked to say goodbye. They'd just moved to. "As of now," the clerk said, "she's a ward of the state. We're preparing a placement in a shelter." Owen didn't say anything for a moment, just stared at the manila folder like it was a fire he couldn't put out. But this wasn't a scandal, wasn't abuse. It was something colder. They just didn't want her. "I want emergency guardianship," he said. "Now, today. I'm not leaving her here." She wasn't his problem. She wasn't his daughter. And yet, in some strange, irreversible way, she was already his. And he returned to the bench. Bella was still sipping from a juice box Marie had found. Her hands were too small for the cup. Her eyes were too old for her face. "Bella," he said softly, using the name he'd just learned. "I know today's been hard, but if it's okay with you, I'd like you to come with me, just for now, so you don't have to be alone." She didn't speak, just stared, then quietly reached for his hand. And just like that, the man who never planned on being a father walked out of that courthouse holding the hand of a child who didn't believe in family anymore. What do when someone hands you their whole broken world without saying a single word? Chapter 1. Not her problem anymore. He'd sat in courtrooms filled with greed, corporate takeovers, lawsuits that smelled like blood, developers ripping through entire neighborhoods like paper, but nothing prepared Owen for this. The clerk's office was too bright, too calm. A printer hummed in the corner. A calendar on the wall featured puppies and flower pots. It all felt wrong. "You're referring to Bella Rivers, I assume." The older woman held a thin manila folder, like it was a grocery list. Her glasses glinted under the flickering light. She flipped it open and read without emotion. "Parents, Emily and Jacob Rivers, finalized their divorce this morning. Both waived custody rights. No extended family listed. Child to be placed in transitional shelter pending foster availability." Transitional shelter. like she was a broken appliance waiting to be repaired or discarded. Owen's voice didn't rise. It dropped, steady, icy. They just gave her up? The clerk nodded once. No one objected. And that was it. Just like that, Bella became a file number, a case, a child of no one. Owen's stomach twisted. He had built towers from glass and steel, bent laws to protect billion-dollar contracts, but this wasn't a contract to renegotiate. It was a 6-year-old girl who believed she wasn't wanted. He pressed both palms to the counter. The marble was cold, grounding. "I want emergency guardianship," he said. "Now." The woman stared at him. "Are you related to the child?" "No." "Then, I know the process," he cut in. "Background checks, interviews, approvals. But I'm not asking to adopt her today. I'm asking to make sure she doesn't fall asleep in a room full of bunk beds and strangers." The clerk hesitated. Then, slowly, she reached for the paperwork. Back in the hallway, Bella was still sitting where he left her. Her tiny fingers gripped a juice box like it was a shield. Marie sat beside her, gently keeping watch. She looked up when Owen returned, eyes cautious. He knelt again, leveling with her. "Hi, Bella." She didn't answer, but she didn't look away. "If it's okay with you," he said, voice low, "I'd like you to come with me, just for now, so you're not alone." There was a long pause. Then she reached out her hand. The car ride was quiet, the kind of quiet that isn't silence. It's weight. Owen gripped the wheel harder than he needed to. He kept glancing in the rearview mirror, where Bella sat stiffly, her face turned toward the window. She didn't ask where they were going. She didn't ask who he was. She didn't speak at all. And Owen realized something. It wasn't fear. It was emptiness. Her voice wasn't quiet because she was shy. It was quiet because she no longer believed anyone would listen. His penthouse overlooked Puget Sound, a $12 million zero-cents nest of glass and calm. Clean lines, soft lighting, cold marble counters. Every object was curated, nothing out of place. Until now. The elevator doors opened. Bella hesitated at the threshold. "It's okay," he said gently. "You can come in." She stepped in like a guest at a museum. Careful. Watching. Her shoes squeaked against the polished floor. Owen walked to the kitchen, not because he was hungry, but because he needed to do something. He didn't know how to comfort a child, but he could make scrambled eggs and slice apples. He could pour juice without spilling. He placed the plate on the counter and returned to the living room. "You can sit wherever you like," he said. "You're safe here." She didn't move to the couch. She sat cross-legged on the floor in front of the window, staring at the city where the lights flickered like little unkept promises. He sat behind her, not close, just near enough to be there. They sat like that for almost an hour. When she finally spoke, her voice was so small it nearly disappeared. "Will I have to go to a place with bunk beds and other kids?" His throat tightened. "Not tonight," he said. "Not tomorrow either." She nodded, still not looking back. "I fell once, from the top bunk. The girl under me was mean." Owen closed his eyes for a moment. "You won't have to sleep in a bunk bed here," he whispered. "There's a guest room. It's yours, if you want it." Another long pause. "Why are you being nice to me?" He didn't expect the question. It landed like a punch. He leaned forward slightly, choosing his words. "And because I'm not going to leave you." She turned her head slightly. Her eyes searched his face for lies. When she didn't find any, she turned back to the window. Later, after she'd nibbled on the toast and eggs, Owen showed her the guest room. It was simple, white walls, clean bedding, no toys, no warmth. He stood in the doorway, uncertain. "I'll leave the door open," he said. "If you need anything, I'm across the hall." She didn't reply, but she didn't close the door either. That night, as he lay in bed, Owen stared at the ceiling. Something inside him felt different. He had brought home a stranger, a child, a legal mess, a complication, but she didn't feel like any of those things. She felt like a beginning he hadn't planned for. And somehow, deep in his chest, he already knew. He wasn't going to let her go. Chapter 2. A place that's too clean. The first thing she noticed was how quiet it was. Not the kind of quiet that feels peaceful, the kind that feels watched. The kind where every sound you make might echo, where even your breath feels too loud. Bella stood just inside the threshold of Owen's penthouse, clutching the straps of her tiny backpack. She didn't know this man, didn't understand what temporary guardianship meant, but he hadn't left her behind. So for now, that was enough. The place was big, too big. High ceilings, everything glass or silver or soft beige. Nothing soft, really, nothing for kids. No toys, no crisis, not even a shoe out of place. It looked like no one lived there, just visited. She didn't move past the entryway until he said gently, "It's okay, Bella, you can come in." She took 3 steps, then 4, paused near a leather couch that looked like it had never been sat on. Owen stood in the kitchen, sleeves rolled, cracking eggs into a pan. He didn't ask if she was hungry again, just did it, quietly. Scrambled eggs, toast, apple slices arranged in a fan on a plate. There was something calming about his movements, controlled, purposeful, but not rushed. He didn't seem afraid of her silence. When the plate was ready, he set it on the kitchen island without a word and sat nearby, flipping open a book upside down. He wasn't reading. He was just giving her space. Bella didn't touch the food at first. But eventually, hunger won. She climbed onto one of the high stools and ate slowly, one bite at a time. No crumbs, no mess. "Is the toast okay?" he asked after a while. She nodded. "You can tell me if it's not." She shook her head. Then after a long pause she whispered, "It's warm." He wasn't sure why that broke him a little, but it did. The guest room was at the end of the hall. White bedding, white curtains, a modern painting that looked like clouds on accident. No dolls, no colors, no childhood. "It's not much," Owen admitted, "but it's quiet. And it's yours." Bela stood just inside the doorway, eyes darting. "You can change anything," he added quickly. "Pick what you like. Paint, toys, whatever you want." She looked up at him, confused. "I don't need toys," she said. "They get taken away when you move." He didn't answer. Couldn't. Just left the door cracked open and turned on the hall light. That night, Owen sat in his home office staring at his phone. Dozens of messages, missed calls, a dinner invitation from someone he used to pretend he might love. He didn't reply to any of them. Instead, he typed in a search bar, "How to help a traumatized child feel safe. Best bedtime routines for abandoned kids. First steps in temporary guardianship." Then he clicked off the screen and just sat there. At 2:17 a.m., he woke to a soft sound. He padded down the hall barefoot and paused at the guest room door. It was slightly ajar. Inside, Bella lay curled under the blanket, eyes open, rabbit stuffed animal tucked under one arm, the one Marie had bought her on the way out of the courthouse. She wasn't crying, but she wasn't sleeping either. He knelt by the side of the bed. "Can't sleep?" he asked softly. She blinked once. Then, the other place had a hallway light too, but it flickered. I didn't like it. He reached up and dimmed the light a little, just enough to be warm, not cold. "Is that better?" She nodded. "The last house. They didn't let me leave the bed after 8. "You can come get me any time," he said, "even if it's 2 in the morning." She was quiet again, then said something that stuck with him. "You don't feel like a grown-up." The next morning, he made pancakes. They weren't good, a little burned, a little undercooked in the middle, but when he placed the plate in front of her and sat across the table, she whispered, "They smell happy." That was enough. He canceled 3 meetings that day, rescheduled a call with Tokyo, told his assistant not to come in. Instead, he took Bella shopping, not to a loud, crowded store, to a small, quiet one in a sleepy part of town. "You can pick anything," he said. "It's your room now." She didn't move at first, didn't believe him. But then she saw it. A quilt. Soft, warm, in golden and lavender tones. She reached for it like it was made of stars. "This one," she said. He bought it. And a bookshelf. and every single book she paused to look at. That night, as she lay in bed under the new quilt, Owen stood in the hallway listening. Not to words, to silence, to breath that sounded steady, safe. He didn't plan to keep her. Didn't plan to want to. But that night, he stood at the doorway of a room that didn't used to exist and whispered, almost to himself, "You're not temporary." Chapter 3. Don't let me go back. It started with a sound. Soft, broken, like someone trying not to cry. Owen had just shut his laptop when he heard it. The smallest whimper from down the hall. Not loud, but enough. Enough to send him walking barefoot, fast, heart already braced for something he couldn't name. The door to her room was ajar, the new lavender quilt twisted at her feet. Bella was curled into herself, knees to chest, one hand clutching the stuffed rabbit like it might float away. Her whole body trembled. The lamp on her nightstand cast a quiet golden circle across the bed. The rest of the room, dim and shadowed, felt like a memory waiting to be spoken. He knocked gently on the doorframe. "Bella?" he whispered. "Can I come in?" She didn't answer. But she didn't push him away. That was enough. He sat on the edge of the bed, not touching, just near. "Bad dream?" She nodded, rubbing her nose against the sleeve of her pajama shirt. "Want to tell me about it?" A long silence. Then, barely audible, "I dreamed I was back. The place with the bunks, the first one, the loud one. I called out, but no one came, not even when I screamed." Owen felt something twist inside him, a kind of helpless rage. The kind you don't show, because the person in front of you has already seen enough. "You're not there now," he said softly. "You're not going back." Her lip trembled. "But what if I do?" He didn't hesitate. "You won't. Promise?" He looked at her. Really looked. And then nodded, slowly, but with steel behind it. "I promise. Not tonight. Not ever." She didn't say anything else, just shifted slightly, rested her head on the side of his leg like a small, cautious animal. He stayed until her breathing evened out. And when he finally left the room, he didn't turn off the hallway light. The next morning, something shifted. She didn't wait to be invited to the kitchen, just appeared, barefoot and sleepy, rubbing her eyes with the back of her hand. She didn't speak much, but she sat nearby as he cooked. And when he offered her pancakes, she didn't ask if they'd be taken away later. She just ate. That afternoon, she watched him work from the living room, his laptop open, a quiet call on speaker. She sat on the couch with the picture book open but didn't flip the pages. Just listened, observed. She was studying him. That much he knew. Looking for signs, for cracks, to see if this was real or just until someone else wanted her. 2 days later, she followed him into the office and said softly, "If I mess up, do I still get to stay?" He turned in his chair slowly, didn't smile, didn't soften, just met her where she was. "You don't have to earn this, Bella. You being here isn't a reward. It's a decision. My decision. But what if I break something?" The radio clicked, and I'll help you clean it up. "What if I yell?" "Then we'll talk, and I'll still make you dinner." She looked at him, brow furrowed. "You don't give up, do you?" "Not on people who've already been given up on too many times." That night, she fell asleep with the rabbit tucked under one arm and a book beside her pillow. And when Owen peeked in, she was smiling, not fully, just a flicker at the corners. But it was the first time he'd seen it. He began reading more, not news or financials, but parenting articles. He Googled things like how to help a foster child feel safe, building routines for trauma recovery, how to say you are wanted without words. Every answer said the same thing: consistency, presence, patience. So that's what he gave her. Every day she watched for signs of change, signs he was getting tired of her. He made sure there were none. She started brushing her teeth without being told, picking out her own books, leaving drawings on the fridge. They weren't all happy. Some were of bunk beds, of a girl with no face, of a house with only one window. But then, one day she drew a rabbit, and beside it, a man in a blue suit. She didn't say who it was, but he knew. Claire came over for the first time the following week. Not officially, not as a therapist, just a friend. Marie had recommended her, said she was good with kids, especially ones who didn't trust easy. Claire brought muffins. She didn't kneel. Didn't speak too brightly. Just sat on the floor and started drawing. Bella didn't join in, but she watched and didn't leave the room, which, for her, was something. Later that night, Owen found Bella sitting by the window, knees tucked up to her chest. "She's not like the others," Bella said suddenly. "The helpers. She didn't pretend to like me." He nodded. "That's why I asked her to come." "Will she come again?" "Only if you want her to." Bella was quiet a long time. Then, almost invisible, "Maybe." By week 3, she started humming while brushing her teeth. Owen stopped outside the bathroom door, stunned by the sound. It wasn't a song, just a little tune. But it meant something. It meant she was no longer holding her breath. She began joining him in the kitchen when he cooked, sat beside him during emails, watched the rain fall with him in the evenings. Still quiet, still careful, but present. And when he burned the muffins and muttered under his breath, she laughed. A soft, surprised giggle. The kind of laugh that only comes when you forget to be afraid. He didn't expect to feel what he felt. He didn't expect a child's quiet presence to stitch something back together in his chest. But it did. Then, one night as they sat on the couch, she with her picture book, he with his tablet, she asked, "Can I ask you something?" He looked up. "Of course. If someone came, someone from the past, would I have to go back?" He didn't answer right away, because he knew it could happen. Knew the system wasn't always fair. Knew biology didn't always mean love. But finally he said, "If someone tried, I'd fight for you, even if it's hard, especially then." She nodded. And this time, when she turned back to her book, she didn't curl into herself like before. She leaned into him, not quite touching, but close. That night he stayed up late filling out paperwork. Permanent guardianship, educational access, medical authority. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew one thing with absolute clarity. She would never go back. Not to the bunks, but to the waiting. Not to the kind of quiet that bruises the soul. She called me dead. The air smelled like cinnamon and burnt batter. Owen stood in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, flour streaked across the side of his navy shirt. The muffins had collapsed in the center. Again. He sighed, running a hand through his hair, frustrated at himself for failing at something so ordinary. Behind him, he heard it. A soft giggle. He turned slowly. Bella stood in the doorway, arms crossed, the rabbit tucked beneath one elbow like it always was. "They looked like sad volcanoes," she said. He blinked. "You're not wrong." And just like that, she laughed again. It had been 5 weeks since she moved in. 5 weeks of whispered questions, of silent breakfasts, of cautious glances when the elevator dinged. But this laugh, this felt like spring. Not loud, not showy, just new. They spent that morning in the kitchen together. She cracked the eggs, he stirred the batter, she counted the muffin liners out loud. 1, 2, 3. Her voice still soft, but stronger now. He let her wear his apron. It hung down past her knees. After lunch, they sat by the window, watching the clouds shift over Puget Sound. She drew with colored pencils, 2 people under a big tree. One had wild hair, the other was tall, with a blue shirt. She didn't say who they were, but when she handed him the drawing, her eyes searched his face. "Do you like it?" He nodded. "Very much." "The tree is fake," she added. "I've never seen one like that. Maybe we can find one, together?" She didn't answer, but she smiled, not with her mouth, but with the way her shoulders relaxed. That evening, Claire came by again. She brought a bag of new books and let Bella pick which one she wanted to read. Bella chose one about a hedgehog who didn't like hugs. Halfway through, she climbed onto the couch between them, not saying a word, just choosing her place. After Claire left, Bella lingered by the door. "Is she your special person?" she asked. Owen blinked. "She's someone I trust, someone who cares about you too." Bella looked down. He smelled like oranges. "She bakes lemon bread." "Maybe, That's it. Lemon is an orange. Fair point. And there it was again, that flicker of humor, that playful tilt of her head. A girl relearning the taste of joy. That night, as Owen sat at the kitchen table reviewing documents, Bella came in wearing fuzzy pajamas and dragging her rabbit by one ear. Her again. Something. He set the pen down immediately. Anything? She looked down at her toes. Is it okay if I call you something? He felt the air shift. Like what? She shrugged, chewing her lip. Not Mr. Miller, something nice. He swallowed hard. You can call me anything you want. She was quiet a moment, then whispered, Dad. I want to call you Dad. Owen's breath caught. He didn't expect it. Had dreamed it, yes, but not so soon. Not so freely. He knelt in front of her, eyes level with hers. Then that's the best name I've ever been given. She nodded and walked forward, arms around his neck. Small but firm. He held her for a long time, not because she needed it, but because he did. The next morning, he adjusted his work schedule, again. Calls moved, meetings postponed. His staff was starting to whisper. The CEO who never left early was now unreachable after 3 p.m. The man who once answered emails in real time now replied with, I'm at school pickup. I'll get back to you. He didn't explain. Didn't need to. Some things don't require defense. That afternoon, as they walked through the farmer's market, she slipped her hand into his without looking. Like it was normal, like it was always supposed to be this way. They stopped for warm bread. She pointed to a sunflower and said, That one's for Claire. He bought it. He was no longer a man waiting for his life to return to schedule. He was a man learning how to carry a backpack that wasn't his. He was a man who now knew how to braid hair, badly. He was a man who spent his evenings Googling what nightlights were shaped like stars. At bedtime, Bella asked, Did someone call you Dad before me? He shook his head. No. And I'm the first? The only? She smiled. Good, I like being first. You're not just first, Bella, he said. You're forever. That night, after she'd gone to sleep, Owen stood at the window, the city glittering below. He thought about the day he met her, how small she looked on that courthouse bench, how quiet her voice had been when she said, They don't love me, and how now, just weeks later, she had found enough courage to ask for a name that meant everything. Dad. It was only 3 letters, but it held an entire new life. Chapter 5. You're not her responsibility. It came on a Tuesday. The sky outside Owen's office was the color of steel, flat, cold, indecisive. Rain hovered in the air but never fell. He had just wrapped a quarterly board presentation, coffee in hand, blazer draped over the back of his chair, when his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered out of habit. Mr. Miller, this is Carla Benson from Family Services. His heart stilled. Is Bella all right? Yes, she's safe, but we wanted to inform you. Her biological mother has filed a petition to reinstate custody. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was heavy, loud, cracking. I thought she relinquished her rights. She did, but under Washington state law she can petition to reinstate under certain conditions. What kind of conditions? She's submitted evidence of completing a 6-week rehab program and listed a new residence. The court is obligated to schedule a hearing. Where? Next Friday, 9:00 a.m. Not politely, not with grace. He stood in his office still, like if he moved, the storm inside him would spill out and destroy everything. Her laughter while painting. The way she called him Dad last night while brushing her teeth. All of it was real. And now, someone who hadn't even said goodbye was knocking on the door to take it all back. That night, he didn't tell Bella. She colored at the coffee table while Claire washed dishes in the kitchen. Owen stood behind the island, watching her. The way she placed her crayons back in their box, one by one. The way she smoothed the ears of her rabbit before bed. The way she looked over her shoulder, just to make sure he was still there. He wasn't going to break her. Not now. Not ever. The next morning, he made 3 calls before sunrise. One to his corporate attorney, out of their depth. Refer me to someone better. One to a private investigator. I want to know everything about her biological mother's situation. And one to Ellie Whitmore. Ellie was direct. Sharp-eyed, no nonsense. Known in courtrooms for being ruthless, but only when it came to protecting children. They met in a private conference room over bitter coffee and silent understanding. "She's already yours, isn't she?" Ellie asked after he explained. Owen didn't blink. "Yes, she just doesn't have my last name yet." "Then let's fix that." They began building the case that afternoon. Therapy reports. Letters from Bella's school. Statements from Claire. Every photo, every schedule, every bedtime book documented. A few of Owen's board members caught wind of it. One, a silver-haired man who valued clean optics, pulled him aside. "Are you sure this is wise, Owen? You're putting your name and the company in the middle of a messy family situation. She's not your responsibility." Owen stared at him. "Neither were the kids we built schools for in Malawi, or the veterans we employed through our firm's transition program, or the single mothers we gave scholarships to. But we still did it, because it was right. This is different." "No, it's exactly the same." Then he turned and walked away. Back at home, Bella asked him a question that nearly leveled him. "What does court mean?" He swallowed hard. "It's where people talk about who belongs with who." "Will I have to go?" "Maybe, but if you do, I'll be right there." "Promise?" "Always." Friday came too fast. The courtroom was smaller this time, but the feeling in Owen's chest, massive. Bella wore a pale yellow dress Claire had helped her pick out. Hair pulled back with a tiny star clip. She held Owen's hand on one side, Claire's on the other. She didn't cry, but her grip told the whole story. Her biological mother arrived 5 minutes late. Heavy makeup, arms crossed, no apology, no eye contact with her daughter. She sat like someone waiting for a bus, like she'd been inconvenienced. Owen felt rage rise in his throat like smoke. The judge entered, calm, measured. Introductions were made, papers read. Then the mother's lawyer spoke first. "My client has completed her rehabilitation program. She has obtained housing. She is seeking to be reunited with her daughter, per her legal right." When asked if she had anything to say to Bella, the woman shrugged. "She's still little, she'll get over it." Owen's hand clenched so hard the pen snapped inside his jacket. Then Ellie stood, calm, commanding. She spoke about safety, about psychological stability, about routine and recovery and the kind of love you don't have to be born into to feel. Then she called Owen. He spoke slowly, clearly, no theatrics. He spoke about the first day, the juice box, the rabbit, the first time she laughed at his burned muffins, the way she hummed at night now, how she finally slept. "She's not a burden, she's not a phase, she's not a project. She's my daughter, not by blood, but by everything that matters." The judge asked if Bella wanted to speak. She looked up, eyes wide. Body stiff, but the judge saw it. "It's all right," she said. "Would you like your counselor to read the letter instead?" Bella nodded. The therapist unfolded a piece of lined paper. It read, "I like where I live, I feel safe, I want to stay with Owen. He reads stories, he doesn't yell. I'm not scared at night anymore. I think this is my real home now." There wasn't a dry eye in the courtroom. Even the judge paused before speaking. Then, with a firm voice, "Custody shall remain with Mr. Miller. The petitioner has not demonstrated sufficient change or sustained interest in the welfare of the child. This child deserves permanence and love." The gavel fell. Bella turned, eyes wide. "Does this mean I don't have to leave?" Owen knelt, took her hands. "No, sweetheart, you're already home." That night, she curled up on the couch beside him. He didn't speak, just held her. She wasn't just staying. She had chosen him too. The Letter She Wrote, by Thomas Henkel. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information, or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Letter She Wrote by Thomas. The morning after the hearing, the apartment was quiet. Not with tension, not with fear. With something softer. Peace. Owen stood in the kitchen, pouring coffee, watching the steam rise. Behind him, Bella sat at the counter, in her pajama shirt, drawing. She didn't speak much. Didn't need to. She was humming. The adoption wasn't finalized yet. There were still papers, evaluations, interviews. But that didn't matter. Not to her. And for the first time, not to him either. She spent the day reorganizing her bookshelf, stacking picture books in odd categories. These ones are about animals. These ones are about people who yell too much. These ones are just weird. He watched from the couch, answering emails on mute, pretending to work. Really, he was just listening. To her voice, to her sorting logic, to the way she didn't check the door every time it creaked anymore. Later that evening, Claire came over, with fresh lemon bread and a new set of crayons. Bella didn't wait for permission. She ran to her and wrapped her arms around Claire's waist, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Claire smiled, steady and warm. "How's the drawing going?" "I'm making a family tree. Do you want help?" "No, I already know who's on it." After dinner, they sat under a blanket on the couch. Bella between them, a sketch pad in her lap. She flipped the page and held it up. 3 stick figures. One with a tall, square body and glasses. One with curly hair and a rabbit. One with long hair and a flower in her hand. Above them, in slightly uneven letters, "My safe people." Owen didn't speak. Couldn't. But Claire reached over and took his hand. That night, when Bella went to bed, she asked something new. "Will you be there when I wake up?" Owen nodded. "I always am." She looked at him seriously. "Some people say always and then disappear." He knelt beside her bed. "I'm not some people." The next day, her therapist called. "She's opened up in our sessions. She's started writing little notes. I asked her if she wanted to say something to the court in her own words. She didn't want to speak out loud, but she handed me something." There was a pause. "I think you should read it." Owen visited that afternoon. The therapist handed him a folded piece of notebook paper. In purple crayon, Bella had written, "Dear Judge Lady, I used to be scared all the time. I used to sleep with my shoes on, just in case I had to leave fast. I used to hide my food under my pillow. But now I don't do that. Owen lets me pick my cereal. He makes the eggs wrong, but I like them. He never yells. He stayed. And Claire braids my hair and helps with the hard parts. I used to think I didn't belong anywhere. But now I think maybe I do. Please don't make me go back. Love, Bella." Owen sat in his car afterward, holding that letter in his hands like it was a living thing. That paper was everything. The case, the reason, the proof, not of harm, but of healing. He made copies, sent it to Ellie, to the court clerk, to the social worker overseeing the transition to permanent guardianship. "This is our evidence," he told them. "This is her voice." Over the next few days, Bella's confidence grew like a quiet garden. She didn't ask permission before grabbing juice anymore. She didn't whisper her questions. She didn't check the time every 15 minutes like she was waiting to be sent away. She danced while brushing her teeth. Claire came by with seed packets. "Want to help me start a balcony garden?" she asked. Bella nodded. "Can we grow something that lasts a long time?" "Yes," Claire said. "We'll plant lavender. It comes back every year." Bella looked up. "Like me. Exactly like you." They planted the next morning. Soil under fingernails, tiny hands patting seeds into place. Owen watched from the doorway, arms crossed, coffee forgotten. For the first time in his life, he didn't feel like something was missing. Later that week, Bella asked if she could send the judge another letter. "Why?" Owen asked, kneeling beside her. "Because the first one was about before, I want to write one about now." He smiled. "What are you going to say?" "That I found my real place, and it doesn't have bunk beds." That night, when she fell asleep, Owen opened the folder where he kept every form, every note, every record of their journey. He added her new drawing. It wasn't a legal document, but it was proof of love, of choice, of change. She was no longer surviving. She was beginning to live. And this chapter, the one she titled herself, was the one that mattered most. Chapter 7, Can I Call Her Mom? Spring arrived quietly. The kind of spring Seattle offers. Soft rain, chilly air that still smells like winter, and the first brave green buds pushing through the gray. Owen had grown used to waking up early, not because of his calendar, but because of the sound of small feet padding down the hallway. Each morning, Bella appeared in her fuzzy socks, hair a wild tangle, rabbit in one hand. Each morning, she looked at him, as if to make sure. Still here? Still mine? Each morning, he smiled and said, "There's cereal and blueberries. Want me to make the eggs wrong again?" Claire had started spending more time with them. Not overnight, not all day, but she became part of the rhythm. She brought over banana bread, books, lavender tea. She helped Bella with homework, even when it made them both groan. She taught Bella how to French breed, which Owen still couldn't figure out, and painted the windowsill flower boxes with her. She never pushed, never asked for affection. She just stayed. And Bella noticed. One afternoon, while Owen was on a call in the kitchen, he overheard Bella whisper to Claire, "You don't talk loud." "Is that good or bad?" "Good. Loud people don't listen." That night, as the rain tapped gently against the windows, Bella curled up beside Owen on the couch, her voice small. "Can I ask you something?" He paused the movie, turned to her. "Always." "Claire, if she stays, if she keeps coming back, would it be okay if I—" She looked down at her fingers. "If I called her something?" He didn't speak. Let her finish in her own time. "Not Claire, something else, something nice." He leaned in. "You mean like, Mom?" She nodded once, quickly, then looked away. "But only if she wants. Only if you both want." Owen didn't say yes. Didn't rush. He just said the truest thing he knew. "I think Claire would be the luckiest person in the world." They didn't bring it up again that week. No pressure, no label, just time. But something shifted. Bella began choosing Claire's lap during story time. Claire started leaving a toothbrush in the guest bathroom. And one Sunday morning, when Owen asked what movie they wanted to watch, Bella said, "Can we wait until Mom gets here?" Then froze. Wide eyes. A hand over her mouth. As if she'd broken something delicate. Owen sat beside her. "Hey." She looked up, terrified. "It slipped," she whispered. "Is that what you want to call her?" I think so." "Then we'll ask her, together." That evening, after Claire arrived and they'd finished dinner, Owen sat beside her, heart thudding. Bella climbed into her lap, not saying a word, and handed her a note she'd folded 3 times. Claire opened it slowly. Inside, written in Bella's careful handwriting, "Can I call you Mom? If not, it's okay. But I already do in my head." Claire didn't speak at first. Her eyes filled and her fingers trembled around the edges of the paper. She looked at Bella. "Only if that's what you want, sweetheart. And if you do, then I'd be honored." Bella didn't reply. She just leaned her head against Claire's chest and stayed there. Later that night, Owen stood on the balcony, rain misting his shoulders. Claire joined him, wrapping her sweater tighter. "She trusts you," he said quietly. "She trusts you more. Not more, just differently." Claire took his hand. "You made the space, I just stepped into it." He looked at her. "I didn't know what a family could feel like until she said that word." "Which one?" "Mom." Claire smiled. "Me neither." That week, the guest room became Bella's room. Owen bought her a comforter with stars. Claire helped pick out fairy lights. Bella taped her newest drawing on the door. A stick figure with curly hair, a tall one with a tie, one with a braid. Underneath, in purple marker, "Us." School open house arrived on a Thursday. Bella asked Owen if they could both come. And then, after a beat, if it's okay if Mom comes too? Of course it was. They walked through the classroom, Bella guiding them like a tour director. That's my seat. That's where I keep my rabbit. That's the corner where I cried the first week. But I don't cry anymore." Her teacher pulled Owen aside. He's like a different child. Still quiet, but it's not fear now. It's focus. Claire looked around the classroom and asked Bella, "What's your favorite part of school?" Bella grinned. "Pickup time." On the ride home, she fell asleep in the back seat. Her head tilted, mouth slightly open, still clutching the rabbit. Claire turned to Owen. "She's okay now, isn't she?" He nodded. "She's more than okay, she's home." Chapter 8. The jacket with a corduroy collar. They were walking through the Sunday market when it happened. Bella was skipping ahead, her jacket sleeves too long, the faded denim swinging behind her. She stopped at a stand and pointed at a purple beanie with a fuzzy palm on top. "That one looks like the moon." Owen smiled and bought it without checking the price. Claire stood beside him, one hand wrapped around a cup of hot cider, the other loosely looped through his arm. There wasn't anything dramatic about the moment, but that was the beauty of it. It wasn't chaos or crisis that defined them anymore. It was peace. Simple, ordinary, real. Later that afternoon, back at the apartment, Owen found Bella sitting in her room with her sketchbook in her lap. She was drawing 3 stick figures again, one with a tall blue tie, one with long hair and a flower, and one short, holding a bunny. "Are we official?" she asked suddenly. He tilted his head. "What do you mean? Like, are we a real family now, or just a test version?" Owen walked in and sat beside her on the floor. "What do you think?" She chewed on her pencil. "I think we are, but maybe it would feel more real if we all had the same last name." Owen's breath caught. "Would you want that?" She nodded. "I want to be a Miller, and I want her to be one too." That night, Owen stayed up late. After Bella was tucked into bed, after Claire had gone home with her usual gentle goodbye, he sat at the kitchen table, staring at a small velvet box. It wasn't fancy, just simple, soft blue, elegant. He turned it over in his hands like it was a question he didn't know how to answer. Because this wasn't about romance. It was about belonging, and it was time. He didn't wait for a grand dinner or the perfect backdrop. The next day, he invited Claire and Bella to the park. It was cold but clear. The cherry trees were just beginning to bloom, soft pink petals shaking loose in the breeze like confetti no one had to clean up. They sat beneath the tallest one. Claire laid out a blanket. Bella pulled out her sketch pad. For a while, there was only laughter and wind and sunlight between the branches. Then Owen reached into his coat pocket. "Claire," she turned, raising a brow. "That sounds serious." He took a breath. "I didn't expect this, any of it. I thought my life was already built. I thought I was whole, alone, but I was wrong." Bella looked up from her drawing. Owen continued, voice low. "You came into our lives quietly. Without fixing, without forcing. You were just there. With gentleness, with care, with space." He opened the box. "I want to ask you to stay. Not just because Bella loves you, not just because I do, but because you already are part of this family. And I'd like to make it official. Billionaire Wallace, will you marry me?" Claire blinked, her breath caught, and for a second, everything was still. Then, slowly, tears filled her eyes. She nodded. "Yes," she whispered. "Of course, yes." Bella stood up, pretending not to have been watching. She stepped over, eyes flicking between them. "So, does this mean you'll really stay forever?" Claire knelt. "Then, only if you want me to." Bella didn't answer with words. She walked forward and wrapped her arms around Claire's neck. "Can I call you Mom all the time now?" Claire laughed softly through tears. "I would love that." Later that evening, back at home, Bella finished her drawing. This time there were no stick figures. It was detailed. A tree, a picnic blanket, 3 people beneath it. Above them she had written in bold, slanted print, "My family." That night, as they sat on the couch, Bella in Claire's lap, Owen holding her hand, Claire whispered, "Do you remember what she said the first day you met her?" He nodded. She said, "My parents don't love me." Claire smiled. "She doesn't believe that anymore." Owen kissed her hand. Now she says, we're real. Chapter 9. She's already mine. The morning sun broke gently across Seattle's skyline, not blazing, but certain. In the penthouse kitchen, the scent of toast and lavender soap hung in the air. Bella sat at the table in a white dress with tiny daisies embroidered along the hem. Claire gently fastened a silver bracelet on her wrist, a gift that had once belonged to Owen's sister. Something borrowed, something treasured. Owen stood in the doorway, still buttoning his shirt, heart already full. "Ready?" he asked. Bella looked up. "Do I look like someone you'd want forever?" He crouched beside her, adjusting the collar of her dress. "You looked like that the day I found you." They arrived at the courthouse just before 9. Claire carried Bella's backpack. Owen held her hand. This time, there were no tears, no trembling, only the quiet anticipation of something long overdue. The courtroom was small, private. There were no reporters, no spectators, just a few familiar faces. Claire's parents, Marie from Owen's office, the social worker who had once filled out Bella's intake form with tears in her eyes. The judge, a woman with gray curls and kind eyes, welcomed them like someone welcoming guests into her home. "Are you ready to make this official, Mr. Miller?" Will nodded. "I've been ready since the day she said I make the eggs wrong, but she liked them anyway." The judge smiled. "Let's begin." The process was formal. Questions, oaths, legal confirmations. Owen answered each with calm certainty. "Yes, I accept full legal and parental responsibility. Yes, I understand this is permanent. Yes, she's already mine." Then the judge turned to Bella. "Sweetheart, do you want Mr. Miller to be your father?" Bella looked up, eyes steady, not small, not afraid. "Already is." The room paused. It was the kind of silence that isn't empty, it's earned. The judge reached for her pen. "Then by the authority of this court, I declare that from this day forward, Isabella Marie Rivers shall be known legally as Isabella Marie Miller." She signed, the gavel fell, and it was done. Applause rose, soft and tearful. Claire wrapped her arms around both of them. Marie dabbed her eyes with a tissue. Claire's father cleared his throat like a man pretending not to cry. Bella looked up at Owen. "Does this mean forever, forever?" He lifted her into his arms, pressing a kiss to her temple. "Forever, ever, always." Afterward, they celebrated on the rooftop of Owen's building. Wildflowers lined the railing. String lights danced in the wind. There was a cake Bella had picked herself. Light purple frosting, piped stars, and her new last name in looping silver script. "Welcome home, Bella." She ran from table to table, giggling, her hair flying behind her like a banner. Claire stood beside Owen, sipping champagne. "She glows," Claire said. "She's safe," Owen replied. "That's what you're seeing." "No," Claire said, leaning her head against his shoulder. "It's more than that. She's home." As the sun dipped low, Bella climbed into Owen's lap, the adoption certificate clutched in her hands. She stared at it, tracing the edges. "This means no one can take me?" "Not a soul." "And you don't change your mind?" "Never." "And even if I spill paint on your rug?" "Still mine." "And if I have nightmares?" "Still mine." "And if I call you Dad?" Owen kissed the top of her head. "That's my favorite name." Later, as Claire tucked Bella into bed, Owen stood in the doorway. Bella looked up at both of them, eyes sleep-heavy. "Can I call you something too?" she asked Claire. "Of course, sweetheart." "Can I call you Mom?" Claire's hand pressed to her chest, tears rising instantly. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, baby. You can." Bella smiled. "Okay. Good night, Mom. Good night, Dad." Owen didn't sleep that night. Not because he was restless, but because he kept walking past her room and stopping to listen, to her breath, to the silence that now meant peace, not pain. She was his, not by blood, not by accident, by choice, and that made it stronger than anything else. Chapter 10. Welcome home, Bella. It rained the morning she moved her drawings. Not hard, just a soft spring drizzle that tapped against the windows like a lullaby. Bella stood in her pajamas, barefoot on the hardwood, carefully peeling tape from the back of her favorite picture, the one with the tree and the 3 people beneath it. "Where are you putting that one now?" Owen asked from the kitchen. "Not on the fridge anymore," she said. "It needs a frame." He smiled. "We'll find one together." The adoption was finalized, the names were changed, the court had spoken. But the real proof of family was in the way she walked into the living room without knocking anymore. The way she interrupted his Zoom calls with whispered snack requests. The way she left her shoes by the front door, not lined up, just dropped, with the confidence of someone who belongs. That afternoon, Claire brought over groceries and a new toothbrush for herself. "It's official," she told Bella. "I'm moving in, if you two don't mind." Bella didn't answer. He just tackled Claire in a hug so fierce the paper bag tipped over. "You were always here," Bella said quietly. "Now you're just staying for sleep too." They spent the weekend rearranging furniture. Not much changed, but everything did. Bella moved her books to a bigger shelf. Her clothes filled an actual closet. Her name was written on a little chalkboard outside her room. Isabella Miller, room captain. Owen found a tiny note folded under his pillow. "Now you don't have to miss me. I'm here forever." On Sunday, they returned to the cherry tree, the same one where Claire had said yes, where Bella had drawn her first us. This time, they brought a picnic. Just sandwiches, juice boxes, a slice of carrot cake. The 3 of them sat under the branches while petals floated down around them. Bella placed her new drawing in the grass. It was similar to the old one, but the stick figures had hands now. They were connected. Above it, she had written in her now steady script, "The day I stayed." Owen watched her run toward the playground. Her curls bounced. Her laughter rang out like something earned. Claire leaned against him. "You did that," she whispered. "We did that." That night, as the city turned gold and quiet, Bella climbed into Owen's lap on the couch. "This is my favorite place," she said. "The couch?" "No. Here. With you." He kissed her hair. "Same." Later, after she was asleep and Claire was brushing her teeth, Owen sat alone for a moment. He looked around the apartment. The bookshelf now bursting with picture books. A rabbit tucked gently under the blanket in Bella's bed. The muddy shoes by the door. The framed drawing now hanging where his abstract painting used to be. This wasn't the home he had designed. It was better. Claire walked in and curled beside him on the couch. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. Sometimes love doesn't arrive like thunder. Sometimes it begins in silence, in a whisper on a courthouse bench, in burnt pancakes, in bedtime promises, in the moment a child chooses to believe again. And when Bella woke the next morning and came running into their bedroom with messy hair and sleepy eyes, she jumped onto the bed and laughed. "Good morning, my people." And Owen, the man who once had everything but still felt empty, smiled through tears and whispered, "Welcome home, Bella. If this story touched you, some love stories don't begin with flowers. They begin on courthouse benches, in whispered fears, in questions too heavy for a 6-year-old to carry. My parents don't love me." That's how she began. No fanfare, no drama, just a small voice in a cold hallway, already convinced she didn't matter. And then a man who didn't know he was looking for anything stopped walking and decided, not this time. Owen didn't save Bella. He stayed with her. He sat through the silence, through the nightmares, through the slow mornings when trust didn't bloom. It crept. He burned pancakes. He got her name wrong once. He showed up anyway. He learned that family isn't made in a courtroom. It's built in the smallest choices, leaving the hallway light on, sitting just close enough, whispering back, "You don't have to go back." Claire didn't fix her either. She didn't try. She just brought muffins and soft eyes and the kind of presence that says, "I won't push, but I'm here." And when Bella said, "Can I call you something nice?" Claire said yes with her whole heart. Not because it was easy, but because she'd been chosen. This wasn't a fairy tale. It was a true love story. Not romantic love, though there was that too, but the kind of love that says, "You don't have to earn this. You are not too much. You're already mine. And Bella, she went from sleeping in shelters, wearing shoes to bed, to running barefoot across park grass, yelling, "Good morning, my people." She's the reason this story matters. Because she believed again. Because she asked, "Even if I spill the paint, will I still get to stay?" And someone said, "Yes, especially then." So if you're watching this now, if you've ever wondered whether your story could be rewritten, if you've ever felt like love passed you by because you were too quiet, or too complicated, or not enough, please remember this. The greatest love stories aren't loud. They are consistent. They are chosen. They are made of hugs that don't loosen and hands that don't pull away. This wasn't just about a CEO, or a courtroom, or custody. This was about presence, and second chances, and what happens when someone refuses to look away. If this story touched you, the next one goes even deeper. We meet again, where healing begins and love walks in quietly through the back door of the heart. We'll be waiting there.